I think it's about time to have an update on the 2.3 turbo swapped 63 Volvo Amazon. Yeah, we've been busy, but busy screwing around with nickel and dime stuff. How come a bolt-on's never really a bolt-on? Has anyone else experienced that? Because seriously, nothing is ever a bolt-on for me. Now it could be the fact that I build such weird stuff. The Ranger, this Amazon, the Mercury Marquis station wagon, a couple Audis, if you know my other stuff. So this Bullport header is quite the nice unit. It's pretty fantastic, amazing welds, but it I don't think it's meant to go in this chassis. And when you buy this header, or rather, when you try to make stuff work with this header, you come to realize that, well, nothing that's made for this particular setup will work in this chassis. To clarify, the Beauport fitting drain AN fittings and into the block, yeah, they don't clear anything. If I wanted to go around the back, you're basically putting it right where the downpipe's going to be. So obviously not feasible. Even in this, it's quite tight. Now, mind you, I might be running a little bit more, a smaller turbo. Well, I am running a smaller turbo. It's a T3 T4 Garrett turbocharger. So yes, this header is complete overkill for that. That's without a doubt, but it paves the way for future possibilities. And well, it looks nice, and it just doesn't necessarily fit nice. So as some others have mentioned, the width of it gets pretty wild. As you can see, this is pretty close to my fender there, so it's I'd be curious to see how well this fits in like a Fox body. I doubt it would even fit in a Mercer. I feel like that's just as tight as this, but I could be wrong. Feel free to chime in the comments about that, because I am kind of curious. So obviously we got the coolant and oil feed and drain played out basically. This hose is going to end up going to a hose right on the fender well here, so that should be cool. And then into the heater core. So some of the things that are different than last year, there's a lot that's different than last year. Obviously the head, the cam, different intake, etc., etc. Some of the things we're omitting is the oil cooler. Now, maybe it's a fear that other people have had, and I'm kind of jumping on that bandwagon. But basically, the forums or the internet says, which is always a great resource, as we all know, they basically say that sure, that oil cooler can separate and you get some coolant in the oil. Now, obviously that sucks, and I probably just thought the best idea was to get rid of the coolant hoses off the back side of the head. I didn't want to have so much congestion back there, mainly because of the downpipe. So the downpipe's pretty tight. It was tight last year. We were running a 2.5-inch downpipe, and it was a little tight to get around the starter. Even here, if you can't really see, it's a little too dark, but you could basically have maybe a 1/4 inch at best down that downpipe beside the header, between the header and the frame rail. So if we got rid of those coolant lines, that really opens that up, so the downpipe can kind of kick back a little bit further. And as you can see, there was my hole for the heater core. So we're omitting that as well. So basically there was a lot of coolant congestion in the back. So we've gone to put it in this side. It's just a flat panel. On the other side is our heater core. So we're gonna run them right up this fender well, which should be a decently clean setup. Oh, did I mention that downpipe's 3 inch? So the exhaust is going to be 3 inch? Yeah. If we get into this other side here, you can see how large that opening has to be to fit the large upper intake and honestly the lower intake. So all that was cut back. We'll box it in. It'll probably be more of a square take on it, but haven't fully finalized where that's going to play out. But there's definitely lots of clearance. It's there. It'll just be a little tricky. One of the other things that's going on down here, just on the side of the block, is the PCV or crankcase system. So originally the Ford's deal had like a little slip fit junction, and went to a tube, and then it goes into your PCV, and then obviously it goes back to the backside of your intake. I basically just put in a pipe threaded AN adapter. It's a 45 adapter. It was actually the 45 adapter from the other side that was running the oil drain back for the turbo. But I basically just ground it down because it's a press fit, and lightly tapped it into the block with some sealing compound. And yeah, that's going to be the output. Now, at least now we can go to dash 10, probably up to PCV on one side, and then most likely a catch can on the other. So that's something else we'll touch on. The catch can setup last year, just a large fitting out of the back of the valve cover. Honestly, a heater hose that went across that downpipe area and then into the fender well here. Now, obviously not the best placement for that. Probably could have used the inner fender, but we'll relocate that this year. It didn't make a big mess. It just obviously gets pelted with any kind of road debris, which isn't ideal. What else can we touch on? So some of the other issues or things that bothered me. So obviously we had a shakedown last year. We were just running everything on the road and trying to figure out what was going to work best, figure out what doesn't work. So one of the other parts of that is the pedals and pedal box. So originally I wanted to do a full pedal box from Willwood. Fortunately, it was not in my budget. So I opted to go with the Willwood pedals, just the individual master cylinder pedal and bracket. It actually has tilt-in short master cylinders on there for obviously brakes and clutch. So in doing that, those don't come with the accelerator pedal. It was the old pedal. It was cut. It had a bracket. It went to a Ford cable. It worked. It was okay until you really kind of laid into it, in which case you knocked it out of its bracket and you didn't have accelerator anymore. So that's horrible. Not very safe either. So this year we've kind of gone to this pedal. It is a replacement pedal from Willwood, a further pedal box with the pivot. But all the bracketry is something I just rigged up. Because Willwood, you don't make a standalone accelerator pedal setup for this scenario. It just doesn't, you don't have it. So yeah, basically I think it's 1-inch channel, whatever, welded together. And then a little bit of a bracket for the pivot there. This is over-centered currently because it doesn't have a throttle stop on there, but basically you get the idea, right? This would move back and forth and then pull down your cable off of this steel here. So stronger. And yeah, that's kind of a nice deal. One of the other things you may notice here is actually that brake light switch. Now, as hokey as that may seem, that was more reliable than the pressure sensor that I put in line, because that lasted a week, and this lasted the rest of the summer. So this is kind of back up. They're ran in, let's say, parallel. So basically you can have brake light switch triggered from this or the pressure switch, but I never got to replacing the pressure switch because, yeah, I was too busy having fun with the car. So, but the brake lights totally work off this. It's totally fine, although it looks super sketchy. It works totally fine. Brake lights come on. That's all that really matters, right? So one of the other things that we want to touch base on here is last year's setup with the steering wheel to pedal to seat and a shifter, I guess. So the biggest thing was obviously we have the pedal box. That's great. That moves the pedals a little bit more backward. And this steering wheel adapter and steering wheel is very straight. Doesn't have a lot of setback or whatever you want to call it. Not a lot of dishing in the wheel. So what I was finding was if you were comfortable for the wheel, you weren't comfortable for the pedals. So the plan is to run a dished wheel and an adapter so I can get more options for steering wheels, because this is a 5-bolt steering pattern going to a 6-bolt steering pattern, 1/2-inch adapter, hopefully a 3 to 4-inch dish on the wheel. That'll obviously set back the steering wheel. It'll be a little bit more comfortable. And then we'll have to touch base on the shifter as well, because the shifter will be set back slightly. And that will all go with the seats that we've opted for. So last year we ran just some Honda Civic seats. Yes, that's right. I said Honda Civic seats. They were just buckets. They weren't fancy. They were kind of ugly, to be honest, and they were cloth. So bleh, did not like them very much. This is just a knockoff set of Recaros, if you want to call it that. They have no branding on them. They're just no name. They fit the part, kind of go for what I'm going for inside the interior. They're obviously really, really dirty because they've been sitting in the car waiting to be put in and cleaned. So excuse that. But the idea here is that these will go in. Hopefully we'll go to some harnesses to get away from this lovely factory 1960 mid-60s seatbelt setup from Volvo, because yeah, if you're not sketched out about that, I don't know who shouldn't be. Does it work? Sure. Is it going to be super safe if this relatively quick car has a problem? Not sure. Ultimately, going into some harnesses, probably just a 5-point, a little bit of a roll bar maybe for the harness. Yeah, we're not exactly there yet, so we're getting there though. So one thing at a time. We'll get it running for this year, and then we'll get into playing around with all this other fun stuff, hopefully, and making the car a little bit safer and a little bit more comfortable to drive. Yeah, what else? Tire setup. So hoping to go a little narrower. Are those winter tires? They sure are. They're beautiful winter tires. They are 245/40 18s. Those are the shakedown wheels and tires that were put on the car. They never got changed. They're pretty sticky, I'll give you that. But ultimately for the front of the car, a little wide. The factory tire is a 185. These are 245. So what's that, 60 mil? So yeah, it's a little strong in the humps in the road. It wants to go wherever it feels like sometimes, which basically means you can't have any kind of refreshment in your hand, because yeah, you could be in the next lane in a short period of time. It was safer than that. That sounds horrible, but yeah, it would dip in the road. They're big wide tires, hoping to go down probably 20 mil. So I'm thinking a 225, could be a 235 in the front. That should be cool. Probably the same offset, just for simplicity. And I like 18s, so I probably keep the steely look. That's just kind of my style for this car. I think it's going to play out. Plus, yeah, it's easy to find winter tires, right? Winter wheels. Maybe we'll get some summer tires on it this year. maybe some all season, something a little bit more realistic for the build. Anyway, so that's that. Thanks for watching. I hope you're enjoying the content. We're definitely having some fun. Oh, I should touch base on this other stuff too. Yeah, I'm trying to teach myself how to learn to TIG. Some of my TIG welding absolutely sucks. There is definitely some booger welding. It's most definitely function over form. So yeah, just a little bit of header wrap in some areas. If you really want to get into it, you might have seen it in some of the other video. It's yeah. I will just say this: flex pipes melt really quickly when you're TIG welding. It's wow. You got to be quick. You got to be on the ball. So, but hey, I'm learning. I'm teaching myself how to do it. Some of it's not too bad, and some of it got away from me, but can't say that I'm not trying. So yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. We're hoping to have this thing running in the next couple weeks and less holes inside the car. That would be good. And yeah, thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Feel free to comment, and yeah, appreciate the support. Take care.